All right, so here I am on my Windows machine now, and I have my terminal open. And if I do a git version, we can see git is not on this machine, so I'm starting from scratch. And what I'll do is open up my browser. We're going to do git download. And you could go right to this downloads link, but I'll go to the main page, which is git-scm.com. And here you can just see the general main page of Git. It's free to use. You can download it, no problem. And what we'll do is go to downloads, and you have different options here. So if you're watching this and you're on a Mac or a Linux, you can easily do it for that if you don't have it. But I'm going to do Windows, and I'll install the latest one. I'll pause this while it downloads. Okay, so now this is done. I did pause the video for a bit, so if that took you some time, feel free to pause. I'm going to open this up and we get this setup window. We're going to move through this. Where do you want this to install? I'm going to just install it in the default location. It already exists. I did have this on my computer before. I had to uninstall it to do this, but I'm going to just overwrite it. In this case, let's just keep all of the defaults. Next. It's going to create a shortcut, and we want to keep this as git. Next. All this stuff, we're just going to keep the default and not play around. So just next. Again, this is not, we're not going to try to customize this. We just want to get git installed locally so we can start working with it. Again, just keep all of the defaults. Next. And then let it do its thing. Again, there are definitely ways you could customize that if you wanted to, but that's outside the scope of this particular training. All we need is for Git to be on our machine. Okay, we don't need to look at the release notes, so finish. And now if we open this up, we probably are going to have to restart this, but let's see. All right, never mind. So now we can see the Git version is here. Git is installed on our machine, and we are good to move forward with this prerequisite. One thing I forgot to point out when installing Git is to set your global config. So I'll show you here real quick what to do, and make sure you do this on your local. And essentially what this is your local configurations for Git and how it's going to know what your name is and when you commit things, which comes into play a little later. The command that we're going to run is git config --global --list. And what this is going to do is list your name and email that you have set up with your local Git environment configuration. And what we want to do is set these. So what you can do is do a git config, same thing, global, and set them. So to do that, you just write it out, user.name space, and whatever you put here will be the name that is associated with your Git activity. So anytime you commit something, it's not your GitHub username, it's your Git identity. So as a subtle difference. So for me, I'll just put mjcon. And now if we don't add it, if we just say git config global username, it'll print that out. And that's the username we have. So you can go ahead and add your username and your email. And the email, adding it is the same way for email. So you would add this. So I could do. And now if I were to do git config global list, both of mine are set. So go ahead and do that for yours as well before moving on.